Greetings and a very warm welcome to the channel. The sun is hiding because the weather in England is shite, but the magpie is casting with all his might. Coming at you guys right now with a live 1 versus 1 battle featuring spawning in the south. It is going to be none other than the Soviet monster that is RUKAclJove. And if you don't know Jove by now, just suffice it to say he's just like monstrously good and frequently in and very high in the top 10, especially with Soviets and sometimes with some other races as well. And spawning in the north, playing as the Overcommand West pieces, it is going to be HighFive, who I actually believe has featured on the channel before. Like, he just sort of dimly rings a bell, but I actually can't remember anything about like his playstyle or anything, so we're gonna have to see what he's gonna be able to bring to the table here. The map here is gonna be Faymonville Approach, of course, which should be a perfect staging ground for an epic showdown, hopefully here between these two very high-level players. And as we move into this cast, I feel I should say at last that for the first time in a long time, I have had a coffee. Woo! Caffeine and I have had, like, a historically awkward relationship. Like, when we first met, it was like two star-crossed lovers, you know, everything we did was awesome and we had a great time all the time. But then I realized that, I don't know, you can, like, rely on caffeine too much, and, like, there was a time when I was, like, revising for my first degree, and I was drinking, like, 2 tins of Relentless a day, one of them as a meal substitute, and I was just like, hang on, this probably isn't so healthy, so I gave up caffeine, like, forever, more or less. But then I read something about how black coffee is actually really healthy for you, or like in moderation anyway. So as part of my, like, you know, 2017 like completely arbitrary New Year's resolution. Like, by the way, how weird is it that people make New Year's resolutions because like just a number changes in the date? Like, if that's your like justification for changing your life, then I don't know. I just feel like the commitment there is not as good as it could be if you had like a genuine reason. But anyway, as part of the 2017 thing, I thought I'd give caffeine another go. Suffice to say that I am loving life right now. Oh my goodness, I've missed caffeine. Woo. Anyway, right, let's pay some attention to this game now that we've like justified my my chemical balance right now. Looks like it's going to be a conscript heavy opening here from Jove. Let's check the upgrades for him just a second here. So none forthcoming just yet. For the Overcommand West player, looks like it's actually going to be a Storm Pioneer with Kuberwagen opening. So that's a touch unusual already. Going to have to see how he's going to utilize this to his advantage. Kuberwagen is out on the map capping right now. You can see that one over in the east, and it looks like these Volks actually forced back there on 4 men still. Guess they just didn't want to. They just didn't want to take any more of these conscripts shooting at them. And it looks like a handsome start here for Jove. He's secured good amounts of map control with his 4 conscripts. The Overcommand player right now, only with a couple of points to his name on the map, and scattered units across the board, already had to fall back a couple of things. So, of course, it's early days yet, but it is these engagements that will shape the early game, and it is the early game that shapes the mid-game. So, definitely worthy of comment here. Going up to 4 squads of conscripts, grabbing himself another squad of engineers here is Jove. And Soviet players definitely do take note. I mean, you're unlikely to see a finer example of Soviet play than Jove here. Nice Molotov, so the Molotov upgrade has now finished. Catches some Storm Pioneers, that does force a fallback, and any time you can kill, you know, 75% HP on a squad of Storm Pioneers with a single squad of conscripts and get them out without losing a man thanks to a timely oorah. I mean, Jove, you can just tell this is a seasoned Soviet operator. So yeah, definitely Soviet players, crack out the old notebooks here because we're liable to see some pretty cool Soviet shizzle here. Meanwhile, over in the east of the map, looks like conscript's going to be pushing up. Looks like the only thing going the Axis player's way right now. HighFive got a squad of... Well, look how stacked these Volksgrenadiers are. Oh my god. Good thing there's no mortar on the field. Yes. Actual fight being taken here, but Jove looks to have it in hand. His units are all in good cover. Really only the Kuberwagen contributing any damage here. These Storm Pioneers kind of sticking their necks out here. They are on low HP and they are donating a lot of veterancy to Jove's units here. Going to just stick around to complete the cap, and that is, of course, a worthy objective, seeing as how it's a fuel point, and that's obviously quite important. My goodness me, look how forward Jove comes. He's so confident, isn't he? And still an overmax Schlepper, actually, for HighFive, so hopefully we're going to see that come onto the queue here momentarily. I would think it's probably a good idea for him to start teching up here at some point. For Jove, he has gone for the sport weapon Campanaya. Clever girl, basically. Soviet players who try to go without this one tend to die horribly, so that's definitely a worthy addition. Goodness me, Jove just being active like across like the entire width of the map, whereas HighFive here is restricted to pushing in the west and mid only at the moment. Although he has connected up a fuel, he does have 1 VP, so that's definitely going to be useful. He's already slid down 40 VPs though, so, or 40 tickets I suppose. It's for disambiguation, let's call those tickets. Oh, is this going to be a clutch falling back Molotov? Jove! Okay, that one probably wasn't quite worth it, but I mean, props for the effort, you know what I mean? And the aim was pretty good there. I mean, you can tell this is a man with some considerable hours under his belt. Jove, of course, I believe hailing from Russia. I really hope I've got that right. Like, my player knowledge in Company of Heroes 2 is just terrible. I do know lots of the players, and I recognize their play styles, but in terms of what I actually know about the players, where they come from, what their temperament is like, you know, as a human being, really, really poor. Just going to hold my hands up and admit to that one. Anyway, here comes the Schwervermax Schlepper now, and it looks like we're going to see what the tech choice is going to be here for HighFive. Most likely going to be a Battle Gripper HQ, judging by the positioning. Could be a Mechanized Reg. No, Battle Gripper HQ it will be. So probably the more standard line of play for sure here for HighFive. Going to set himself up here to ease into the mid-game with the options to build the lag, the flak half-track, and, of course, the Searchlight half-track, which is almost a non-unit, let's face it. We basically never see that. Some mines here getting interrupted mid-formation. Looks like Jove not going to cancel those just yet. Looks like he feels confident taking this fight with the flamethrower. And look how he rallied that. It was a shift click to here and then a click to here. So now he's taking this fight from cover, having shielded his unit on the advance, and now he's going to deal massive bonus damage against the Volksgrenadiers who are in heavy cover. So that is kind of sinister. Jove just getting such value here. Such value. I'm just going to crack the stats here for a second. Let's see. Jove, damage dealt 2227. Oh, it's still increasing. HighFive, damage dealt 1050. I mean, oof. Definitely been an efficient game so far from the Soviet side of things. No commander picks from either player. And it looks like Jove going to mix in a weapon team at this juncture. Going to be bringing on the PM41 82mm mortar. And that is going to provide some indirect fire support for his conscripts here. And I do like that pick. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, it was either going to be that or a Maxim, wasn't it? And to be honest, as much as I like a Maxim, I think that the mortar represents the more confident, the spicier pick here. With the higher potential. Conscript's going to garrison this building. Volksgrenadiers and Storm Pioneers supported by a Kugelwagen here. Actually taking a reasonable fight, but some clustering here. There could be a mortar. Okay, it does find the Volks. Luckily, the Storm Pioneers had already moved behind this car here, but now a Molotov is going to find them too. And these Axis advances just being corralled nicely by Jove. You just feel like he's not actually being exposed. He's not actually vulnerable at any point during these fights. He's just kind of fielding his opponent very nicely here. Look at the veterancy as well. Like 1 star in total above the entire Axis roster, and we're nearly at the 8-minute mark here. I mean, youch. So the scoreline differential beginning to open up here increasingly, and HighFive definitely must be feeling the heat by now. Like, obviously a player of his caliber, he will know that he's not trading that well, he will know that he has the work to do here. But Company of Heroes 2 being the game that it is, you can get off to a bad start and still definitely take a game, so everything's still to play for, of course, for HighFive. Jove actually being a little passive here. I guess a lot of his squads are, a couple of them at least, back at base here. Going to be going for his Tank of V Battalion command just now. Let's see, how much fuel does he have? So he has enough. If he wants the T-70, he can go for it. As it stands, the T-70 will probably be a good choice. There is a Rakettenwerfer coming up just now for HighFive, but I have faith in Jove's micro here. I don't think like a single Rakettenwerfer is really going to be enough to counter his T-70 by itself. The T-70, of course, definitely one of those slightly more skill-intensive units, definitely one of those more attention and APM responsive units, for sure. And when you're a player like Jove, you do have attention and APM in spades, so we can expect that T-70 to be, that T-70, sorry, to be especially spicy. Casting on Caffeine is so cool. I feel like my mouth is just like running away and my brain is just like letting it do its thing, so I don't know. That's like my excuse for if I get things wrong, which I surely am. Anyway, Jove just still taking spicy fights around the map. Looks like finally HighFive going to force back a unit here in mid. Volksgrenadiers, Storm Pioneers going to be too much for a single squad of engineers. But in west, it's a story of Soviet domination as Jove going to fan out, grab the fuel and the VP here. Continue fighting in mid. This Storm Pioneer needs to GTFO. This mortar squad could even possibly tag him with a rifle round. Okay, he gets out of there. That was a little too close, perhaps, for HighFive as well. He has a metal detector, so that would have been added value. But he does get the squad out of there alive. Are these shoe mines? No, these are TM35s, actually. So risk here. I believe those were revealed by the metal detector. So if HighFive was paying attention, he'll know that they're there. Let's hope he doesn't inadvertently step on them now that they've gone back to being camoed. Storm Pioneers here also being chased out of town. Volksgrenadiers just, conscripts just reaping additional veterancy by putting hits onto those units. Jove going to be adding in a Maxim here to help cement his position in mid, and that of course makes a lot of sense. If he can get the Maxim into the Dream House here in mid, I mean, the Axis player doesn't really have a lot that's going to make it easy to push a Maxim out of a building. Yes, he has a RUKAclJove, so he can siege that down over time, but you have to think with a mortar and Jove's just general capacity of flanking and good play, especially with 4 squads of conscripts and a Flamer Engineer, he will be able to get that RUKAclJove out of there well before it manages to like severely reduce the health on this building. MG34 just now coming out for HighFive. Going to be deploying that into the west. If he can get that into this building here and secure the fuel point, that actually gives him something of a foothold in this game. So we'll see if that's the plan here. I imagine it will be. Joe's sending a lot of forces right now into mid. Mortar's going to get itself set up into quite a nice position. Where's this Maxim headed? Oops, sorry. That's the MG34. Oh, I was completely lying. It's HighFive. Okay, that's the MG34. I just guessed, I assumed in my like caffeine-infused state that like red units are definitely Soviet for a moment there, but that is not accurate. It's an MG34. No Maxim coming for Jove. I do take that back. So, what is this? There's like a dropped weapon here. Is that like a flamer or something? I can't actually tell. Anyway. So, okay, looks like HighFive going to be moving on in here with a couple of Volk Storm Pioneers also pushing kind of in mid here. Oh my god, but Jove has just been so efficient. Like, if you consider the amount of manpower on each side of this equation, 2 squads of Volks and a squad of Storm Pioneers versus mortar, conscripts, engineers. I suppose there are also conscripts in this building, so it's probably about fair, but still, Jove just being so efficient here. Oh, that mortar coming down. Nice fallback timing there from HighFive. Does escape the worst of the damage on that indirect fire piece. Let me just check the stats here again. Whoops. Oh, we got that oorah nice and loud. So it's 5-6-3-9. And look at the efficiency here, 35 for 19, and typically, all things being equal, the Soviet player tends to lose slightly more men, conscripts being fragile and bigger squads, and also engineers being kind of like a wet blanket in a fight unless they have a flamethrower, so... You know, those numbers definitely helping to narrate the story of this game, which is one of domination here from Jove. But, you know, credit where it's due. HighFive has actually secured this fuel point. He has secured a VP. He's not bleeding super fast right now. I mean, he is trailing by as near as makes no difference, 200 points, which you never want to be in that position. But he is tenaciously staying in this game. And crucially, oh, that's a demo charge. Right. Oh, God, that's brutal. Jove, you are a monster. Ugh. Oh, dearie me. I feel sure that that's just going to get an Axis squad at some point. We'll have to keep an eye out for it. I'm probably going to miss it and do some typical Magpie forensic casting and pick that one up well after the fact. But anyway, by the way, heads up, Katusha is coming. I totally missed the fact that the Mechanized Armor Campanile has been rushed for here. There was, of course, no T-70, no Su-76. In fact, nothing from the Tank of E Battalion Command. So going to be fast Katusha, and... You know, if you can defend that Katusha, which I think Jove, with his present map situation, if you look at the top left, look at the top right, I think he should be able to defend that Katusha. You know, that Katusha could be absolutely brutal. He can just keep it in his base, bring it forward when it's time to take a barrage, you know, wipe some squads, get some heavy damage. The Axis player has like 2 weapon teams, which are inherently vulnerable to Katushing. Not to mention the rest of his lineup is all infantry based. So this Katusha, a sweet choice from Jove, and kind of actually something that I wish Soviet players would do more often. Like, I just think the Katusha is really good, and it's inexpensive enough that if you rush for it, you know, you really can have it out, even though you have to build that support Campanile. What is it called? Oh god, Katusha taking a shot. Here it comes. Where's that firing to? Oh, he's just taking it at the fallback point. He knows a couple of squads have recently fallen back. Oh, and he gets a Storm Pioneer squad with a brutal rocket. Stalin would be proud. Oh, dear me, the Iron Father smiles upon this army here, and Jove doing the work here of the Man of Steel. Uh-oh. Oh, the damage charge! Dun 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 dun. Okay, these Volks are going to be okay for now, unless they suddenly cluster around that to get into the building, but youch! Anyway, pushing in the west, we've got some Volks, 2 squads of Volks, actually, for HighFive. So, looking to get out finally. There we go, and he stops the bleed at 271 under 497. So, some grievous damage has been dealt. He has lost a squad. He's down in supply. He's down in tickets. He's been down on resource income. Definitely never where you want to be. But HighFive, still fighting fit here, and still could for sure take this game. That's the nice thing about Company of Heroes 2. You can be behind. You can be, like, considerably behind. But Company of Heroes 2, ever the game of comebacks. And there's a lot of games still to be played here. 271 tickets is plenty to work with. The Schwerpanzer HQ, by the way, has finished. So he's going to have access to some pretty heavy Axis armor here. If he can just get a little more fuel, which at the moment his fuel income is absolutely fine. So he's going to probably get to have his pick of at least 1 Axis armored unit. Looks like following a Katusha for Jove, it's going to be a T-34, which I do, of course, I mean, that's just a spicy choice. It's going to further tax the Axis player. It's a very mobile, very destructive fire piece when you're just firing at infantry and you don't have to worry about any Axis tank hunters. So that T-34 here, definitely going to be the kingmaker on the field. It is going to be the unit which decides where HighFive can commit his infantry and where he has to give way, pretty much. So I like the choice here from Jove. And of course, I mean, what is it? What are they, like 90 fuel, 85 fuel? I feel like they're somewhere around here. 80 fuel, that's fine too. Good God, Soviet units. So, okay, 80 fuel. You know, if this just dies, that's also fine. That is so fine. Like, Jove's so far ahead. Definitely go for the T-34 at this juncture. He forces a few more squads back, so he knows that now is going to be a good timing to unleash the Katyusha here. Takes another barrage. Looks like HighFive on his toes here, going to micro these units away, so nearly no damage, unless you count damage onto the buildings, which is kind of more or less sort of a bit of a nothing there. But still, you know, you've got to take these barrages. How much veterancy? 5 kills and about half a star of veterancy so far. What is the first veterancy? Creeping barrage, increased shell accuracy and rate of fire. So it's the second level of veterancy that gives you that rate of fire increase, which is so important for rocket artillery units on the Katyusha. I haven't actually seriously played Soviets for some time, so as you can tell, having to look at the veterancy abilities here, my knowledge of the Soviets just a little bit out of touch, but that's cool. That's why we're allowed to look at these things mid-game. T-34 makes itself known here, going to roll into town. Unluckily, though, finds itself right in the arc of this RUKAclJove, which immediately scores a penetrating hit. Boom, make that 2. So the T-34 going to be forced back here, going to have to spend some time repairing that one if he doesn't want to play it too riskily. So that's very nice for the Axis player. That pretty much couldn't have gone better as far as that medium tank goes. MG34 set up in a reasonable position here as well. Going to catch these conscripts in arc, but at 3 stars of veterancy behind heavy cover. They're going to take a long time to get suppressed by the relatively low DPS, relatively low suppression, I suppose, MG34. I mean, you know, relative to most other MGs. My God, Jove just pushing and putting on pressure, like, across the board. Look how much veterancy he has over his army. Panzer IV, by the way, is going to be the choice for HighFive here. Absolutely is going to be the choice. I wish I had, like, you know those little watches, those smart watches that people have, like the Fitbit and all that. I wish I had one of those right now, because I'm pretty sure that, like, my biometrics right now are pretty interesting. Pulse rate probably elevated, pupils probably dilated, not that the Fitbit monitors that. And, you know, if I, like, look at my hand, there is, like, some pretty distinct shape there. Yeah, but it all feels great. I'm just one of these people that when I'm having, like, a really good time, I have a hard time, like, not sharing that. So I just gotta let you guys know. I'm feeling great. I should drink more coffee. This is awesome. Anyway, here comes that Panzer IV. Sweet skin. Look at that skin. This is like some kind of Black Ops Panzer IV going to be rolling on into town here. Taking names. Let's hope that this is going to be the unit that turns it all around. Gets off to a good start here. Forces back a conscript squad with a nice shot there. Pintle mount. MG42 does come down in a timely fashion here for HighFive, who's also gone ahead and chosen his commander. It's going to be Fortifications Doctrine here. And that is actually quite an interesting pick for the map, of course. The PaK-43, not so good against a Katyusha, but pretty decent on this map. Lots of open lanes of sight. You can build a PaK-43 in a relatively defensible position, like somewhere around here, and you can clear on out these lines of sight. And then that PaK-43 can be quite dominant. You can even put it a bit further back if you're feeling very cautious with it, and still have it be quite dominant over large areas of the map in the late game. The question is, of course, is it really any good when there's a Katyusha on the field? And the answer is really no, but, you know, this Panzer IV could take a dive and get that Katyusha. It really doesn't take much to go right for the Axis player for a Panzer IV to pick off a Katyusha, so Panzer IV also here going to be used to deflect this T-34, getting itself a bit of veterancy with a nice penetrating hit through the frontal armor there. Panzer IVs against T-34s, one of those fights that usually ought to go the Panzer IV's way, but like it doesn't take much again for that RNG to like just bounce your first few shots with the Panzer IV, and then if the T-34 gets like 1 or even 2 penetrating hits, suddenly your Panzer IV just doesn't look very clever in the face of a much cheaper tank, and that can be frustrating. But it looks like things so far are going okay for the Axis player in that tank battle.
Prepare yourselves!
Another T-34 going to be the choice here for Jove, and I do like that. 2 T-34s is a scary proposition for a veterancy 0 Panzer IV, even though it's an OKW one with those armoured skirts already. Volksgrenadiers here looking for a Faust. Ill-advised though, that tank's still on full health. There's plenty of supporting units here. T-34 as well, Jove totally on top of it. Going to back that one away, doesn't want to risk even losing any health on that one. Mortar still shelling proud here. I'm kind of amazed that that thing doesn't have more veterancy, if I'm honest. Did it get wiped and remanned? Like, not as far as I recall. So I'm sort of amazed, really. Yeah, I've not really seen any great hits from that thing.
Prepare for orders.
Nice roster of units keeping tabs on everything over here in the west as well. The fuel and the VP that are so important for HighFive right now. Being secured by RUKAclJove for an NMG34, of course, that provides the anti-infantry and the anti-tank punch you need to hold a point. So that's quite nice, unless the Katusha fancies putting some fire down on those units. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good way of holding that for at a relatively inexpensive in terms of like forces committed cost. I wonder if I'm making any sense right now. Probably. It feels like I'm making some sense. Looks like Jove going to take the threat down here in the west a lot more seriously. Commits two more squads of conscripts down here, both 3-star VAT as well. So these boys really know how to bring the pain. Jove also has gone ahead and chosen his commander, and it's going to be the... What is this? This is the, like... I know his name. I do know his name. It's like shock attack something? Shock rifle frontline tactics. There we go. So I don't know his name, but I kind of nearly knew his name. Anyway, Panzer IV here, caught out at a slightly awkward angle. Side armor sort of exposed. I know side armor's not a thing in this game, but that does give a higher chance of a rear armor hit there. As the T-34 going to rumble on forwards. That Panzer IV already slightly wounded. Here comes the other T-34. Jove here angling for a fuel unit kill here. The Panzer IV fighting back very nicely though, and at these sort of ranges, the T-34 is going to have a hard time penetrating. Schwerpanzer HQ is also contributing damage. There's RUKAclJove here as well, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Here comes the... Oh, nice Faust for the kill on that one T-34. Now the Panzer IV scurrying for its life. HighFive putting up some pretty good micro. Going to keep juking and jiving around this line of sight blocker. You can't catch me, you can't catch me. Oh, no, but it all comes apart, and the T-34 will get a rear armor shot, and that will be the KO blow on this Panzer IV. I feel like something went wrong there, and the Panzer IV just stopped moving around here, but you know what? He gets a T-34 for his trouble, so things could definitely be worse here for HighFive. Been given an interesting Hail Mary way back into this game in the form of some pretty serious Soviet hardware here. And that could stand him in good stead here. We'll have to see. He's under a triple cap right now. No, wait, who am I kidding? Sorry, he has the triple cap. Jeez, Magpie, get yourself together. He actually has the triple cap, so closing the gap is HighFive. What is this madness that Jove is building? Really? Oh, sorry, this is... Oh, I keep thinking this is Jove. What is wrong with me? HighFive here. He actually has the Pak 43 as well. And that's actually... Is that the Pak 43? No, that's a Lef 18. Jeez. Oh, well, this game just got interesting. I do love me a Lef 18. It is a seldom game that I get to cast a Lef 18. So, absolutely, let's bring the indirect pain here. Let's hope that HighFive scores some punishing hits. I would love to see a brilliant player like Jove get properly put through his paces here. I would love for HighFive to make this a real close game. That would make my day right now. There's a lot of Soviet mines around the place. He's going to have to be careful. Looks like the Lef 18 for now content to take shots into the Soviet base, and that will be moderately ineffective. Oh, looks like that. Oh, I totally missed that. Oh, no. Oh, the T-34 was destroyed, so HighFive is not going to be able to get to use that. This Katusha, still with only 8 kills, not very much veterancy. Given how early that Katusha has arrived, it's actually not been super effective at all. Conscripts here taking a pretty sweet fight. These Volks Grenadiers won't be able to win this one. Not against conscripts, not against that many, not at that range with their STGs, not with conscripts in heavy cover. So Jove will retain control here of the west. That was a nice retake there. Axis forces taking back mid, whilst Soviet forces taking back the east over here, putting down more demo charges. And we've yet to see an absolutely grimy squad wipe here, but you don't get the squad wipes unless you set them up by putting down the demo charges in sweet places. So Jove definitely doing everything he can here to maximize his chances of a squad wipe. And as I've said before, Company of Heroes 2, ever a game of maximizing your chances. A lot of RNG, a lot of dice rolls in Company of Heroes 2. So skillful players are those who can navigate their way through the RNG by maximizing all of the chances of good things happening for them and bad things happening for their opponents at every possible junction. And you can see Jove doing that. Katusha barrage raining in, but no squad wipes forthcoming. The damage on these buildings is going to start adding up though. Like, it's nowhere near worth. It's nowhere near being a headache for the Axis player yet. But it would be a shame if he, if the Katusha was to actually start working those buildings down. So he's going to have to keep an eye on that as things move on. Displaces a mortar squad here with an incendiary grenade. Oh, Storm Pioneer's very low, but they're going to fall back. And if you look at the minimap, let's crack the tack here quickly. You can see the Axis player, HighFive, has been like pushed back. His forces have been more and more condensed and contracted. His area of influence on the map being slowly worn down. Remember, it was not that long ago he actually had a triple cap. So Jove doing quite well to push back the Axis player, to constrict him in. The bleed is once again on HighFive, so definitely the pressure on him to make something happen here. Let's look at the army sizes, 54 to 57, so kind of even actually. Wow, we actually have a moment of quiet here. Both players just kind of... Okay, finally, some combat. We had a moment of quiet here, though. Both players kind of... a lot of units back at base reinforcing. You can see for both players, there's a lot of units kind of in the base sector. So that is just one of those ebb and flow moments. Sometimes Company of Heroes 2, it does just go a little bit quiet. What is this on the floor? Is this another demo charge? Ooh, my goodness, Jove. Please stop being such a bad man. I think it's absolutely fair to say, just like thinking out loud here, that Jove is like one of the top 5 players in Company of Heroes 2, like from all time, I would have thought. Like, possibly top 3. Like, I mean, he's just incredibly good at the game and has been dominant like for as long as I can remember, really. Like, even before the Western Front armies came out, I remember him being like consistently in the top 10. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. Like, I don't know, my memory could be hazy, but yeah, I seem to remember he was very dominant. Anyway. Katusha Barrage there, finding the MG34, doesn't quite wipe it. That one will want to fall back sooner rather than later, I would have thought. This MG34 kind of getting awkwardly flanked, with Conscript still sort of in the arc, actually. So actually, maybe HighFive can just spin this one quickly and get them, but it looks like a Molotov will almost certainly be forthcoming here, he says. The MG... No, sorry, that was the Rakettenwerfer going down in mid. Opportunity here for Jove to salvage that one. And, wow, there's also a... This MG34, like, stubbornly, just a one-man crew here, just refusing to get out of there. But he's actually, you know, adding value. He is firing at a unit. He is suppressing Soviet units, so... so risky leaving him here. Look at him go! You can do it, Hans! I just want him to have like a Rambo moment where he just like holds the trigger shut and screams like a man, you know, like takes off his shirt and is just like, Wah! Okay, so it's going to be a Panther here for HighFive, and that actually represents a pretty good late game option, but he's going to have to show down with this IS-2, which is going to be absolutely savage. Fighting going on across the breadth of this map. These 2 high-level players very good at multitasking and pushing in every corner of the map. These Volksgrenadiers, 4 stars of veterancy, and some STG upgrades going down. Brutal losses. In fact, they're so shocked at their loss that they are stunned and unable even to crawl. There we go, they do remember how to do that, but I was stunned at that loss too. HighFive now beginning to bleed out his core units, and with the loss of those Storm Pioneers, with the loss of his Rakettenwerfer, with the loss of one of his MG34s, this is beginning to look super dire for him. He's down at 41 supply under like 68. How's his left 18 been doing? I've not been keeping tabs on that at all. 8 kills actually, and nearly a star of veterancy. Like some damage on this building. You can see the craters from where he's been focusing it around here, I suppose. So that left 18's kind of been okay. I don't know if it's paid for itself. Now the Katusha going to take a counter barrage here, probably aiming for the left. Oh, actually going to scatter onto the base here. He's going to fire at the base sector. But this is going to be a very hard game for HighFive. Loving the skins on his tanks though. So anyway, here comes his Panther, and, you know, I have a saying about Axis players, which is that whilst a Tiger still stands, the game is not over. It's not always true, but it often is. And a Panther is of the similar caliber of power to a Tiger in a lot of ways. But this is going to be a big ask for this Panther to get HighFive back in this game. He's going to show down with his IS-2. I mean, he's taking it on at very close range. That's super risky. You can already see the IS-2 completely winning the damage race between these two. This Panther, no, he's kind of like awkwardly backed up against this forest here, so he has to expose side armor and spend ages rotating the Panther through almost 90 degrees to GTFO. Now he really does GTFO, but Jove senses that blood is in the water here. He's going to push in with the IS-2, and if this Panther goes down here, that is all but game, so this is very important. Okay, looks like Jove going to respect the Axis base here, going to respect the fact that there could be Kettenwerfers that he doesn't know about. There could be something. Anything could go wrong. He doesn't want to risk the IS-2. In fact, he's going to leave it here and just chew into the left 18 there, and that's quite nice as well. And actually, in a way, this is a good way of gathering intel, because now he knows, you know, if there were any Rakettenwerfers in the base, they probably would have come out to deal with that IS-2 by now, so he has some sort of a gauge on his opponent's AT resources here. Faust comes through, though, breaks the engine on the IS-2, which is, by the way, on its last legs. Kettenwerfer in a lovely place, though. Panther going to chase deep, which is turbo risky, and it's going to come down to this fight between these two tanks. The IS-2 gets a lovely hit, but the Panther's still alive, closes in, and caps the IS-2 beautifully. The Rakettenwerfer is desperately spinning to try and tag the Axis medium as it scurries away on no health, and the demo charge is going to be the kill. Jove, you savage, savage individual. Oh my god. There's like a parallel universe where that Panther takes a different route and like maybe goes this way out of there, which you'd never do because there's a RUKAclJove here. Or maybe it just takes a slightly wider line and doesn't get hit by that demo charge, and this game starts looking a little different, like not super different. This is still like a crack troop lineup here for the Soviet player. Oh, HighFive. I feel like he feels like he's seen everything now. Like, you know, he's down to just 3 squads. He's getting Katyusha'd in the face, in his base. He's building Obersoldaten, but I think this is going to be too little too late here. And I think with the demise of that Panther, it is probably safe for me to switch into post-mortem mode, because this game, all but over, 60 supply for Jove, over 21 for HighFive. And a healthy score lead as well, 360 over 183. It is going to be an almost impossible ask for this Axis player to come back in this game. And that Katyusha has actually now been wearing down his battle group at HQ to the extent that it's like, you know, it could die to another Katyusha barrage. It's getting quite worked down. How close are we to another IS-2? Actually, you know, not super close, so at least HighFive doesn't have to worry about another Soviet heavy coming on in. But, you know, this is an absolutely dire situation. Absolutely dire. And I feel like this is one of those games where HighFive didn't make any massive blunders. I don't think, like, there were no opportunities, but there were no moments here that I saw where I was just like, oh, you know, that's a huge mistake. He's just like thrown away a unit. Yeah, he dropped a couple of units here or there. He probably could have saved units that he dropped here or there, but I don't feel like he played especially badly. It's just that Jove was just consistently more efficient through every stage of the game. And what I mean by more efficient is in every fight he was getting more damage done and giving away fewer losses. And, you know, when I was tracking the stats in the early phases of this game, you could see that represented in the numbers. And, you know, why don't we take a look now? So Jove has dealt 22,561. HighFive catching up in a big way. 21-29 there. So in terms of a ratio, he's definitely caught up, but Jove still with a lead in that metric, and Jove just with a fantastic standing army. That's the real problem here. So another squad of Obersoldaten coming in here, and like I guess I like the line of play. HighFive has enough time to work with here, especially if he can hold on to 1 VP, that he can maybe get another army going here, maybe. And I do like the Storm Pioneers get wiped, and this is the problem. Whenever you're trying to remax with a OKW, the problem is your squads are so expensive. You cannot hemorrhage any squads whilst you're trying to remax after you've kind of like taken some losses. And if you do, like just then, losing that Storm Pioneer squad, I mean, you're just never going to get back on your feet. It always feels like a big ask to remax with any of the Axis factions, really. Shock Troopers coming out onto the field now for Jove, and why not? Like I was saying, I liked the line of play. Going for Obersoldaten, they're a unit that scales really well. If you can keep them alive, then they can actually turn into absolute houses. Houses of power, powerhouses. So they are a way back into the game. They can also put down booby traps, which is like kind of annoying. And if you can get them to 4 stars of veterancy, then they are really a force multiplier. Like 1 squad of Obersoldaten is equal to like 2-3 allied squads at that point. But I mean, I don't think we're going to see that point in the game here. HighFive, like a champ, is not GGing, and that is his right. But like I say, this battle is absolutely a foregone conclusion, really, isn't it? Shock troops here going to pursue these Volks for a little bit, just going to chase them on back to the base. Jove here setting up a triple cap. So he should be kicking his opponent out of this map in the minimum possible time. And I don't often do this, but this game is just so over that I will hit the fast forward here, just because I can't see anything interesting happening. Another T-34 arrives, just going to spin on forward here, turbo forward units. What we need, when you hit fast forward, yeah, we need like a sepia and grain filter with like a film grain on it, and we need that like World War I style, like World War II, like grainy fast motion film. I hope somebody out there knows what I'm trying to describe. Like, whenever you see footage from World War I, it's all like going slightly fast and it's all in like sepia grain. We need that when you fast forward so that it like has a more authentic feel to it. That would be nice. What are you talking about, Magpie? Dear God. I think we're just going to have to put this down as one of these casts where I totally wasn't on the ball for gameplay, but I still loved the hell out of casting it. And to be honest, that's the only reason I cast anyway, so I'm totes uploading this. Is that the Lef 18 I can hear hooning away? Boom! Yes, it is. Wow, nearly got me. Alright, let's spin on a bit more. Still nothing happening here. How has the Axis player got 2 of the VPs? How is he up to like 5 squads? Jove, just curb stomp this guy. T-34 going to come into mid, pushes back the MG42. That's going to enable Jove to have access to this point, and he should be able to recapture it again pretty swiftly. Another T-34 here, going to come on into west. 2 squads of Jove's squad's going to recapture that VP. Meanwhile, east remains in Jove's hands. A couple of Storm Pioneers going to move on in. Are there any mines? No. So actually it looks like the Axis player might be able to get this point back. Meanwhile, in mid, looks like the T-34 is going to reposition. One of them coming over into east to police these Storm Pioneers. The Katusha going to back up for now. Finally has its first star of veterancy. Actually close to getting another. And that's game! There we go. There we go. ×8 casting was actually attempted for a moment there. Maybe I should just cast the next game in ×8. I feel like that would be quite a fun thing to do whilst I've had a coffee. Anyway, alright, so let's talk about this game for a minute before I sign off, because I feel like there may be some interesting things to talk about. So, like I was saying, HighFive, I feel like, played at quite a high level here and didn't make any massive blunders. But Jove just consistently more efficient, you know, like they came into the early fights with the same amount of ingredients, you know, similar amounts of manpower, similar squad counts for both players coming into the fights. But you could just see from the way Jove positions and moves his units and the way he utilizes all of their upgrades and abilities. A really good example that I did actually pick up on in the early game, because there was enough time for me to talk about it, was when some engineers with a flamethrower here for Jove made a move against some Volksgrenadiers in cover here. Now, engineers with a flamethrower probably represents, once you include the munitions for the flamethrower, a similar amount of investment to a squad of Volksgrenadiers. So it's about equal in terms of resources, but the way Jove like moved his units in like a boomerang shape like this, just like skipping the fire, gets them into cover here like intact, flames for the heavy cover bonus against the Volksgrenadiers, just being turbo efficient in almost every way you can with that unit. And he's consistently doing this with all his units. You know, Conscript, his movement, his positioning, very nice. You know, he had 4 squads of Conscripts in this game, and he finishes the game with 3 of them alive on at 3 stars. You know, that's not that easy to do. Conscripts, if you don't have any of the Conscript upgrade things on your commander, which this commander doesn't, you know, there's no PPSHs, no nothing like that. Conscripts can be quite a squishy unit. Even at 3-star vet, they can just get wiped later on in the game against some of the heavier Axis firepower. So, yeah, Jove just being consistently efficient with all his units, you know, and I often feel like this. When I watch a player who's very good at the game take on, like, almost anybody else who's not, like, a god-tier player, it's hard to point at a single mistake that the other player made, but it's just consistently getting the edge in each fight, whittling your opponent down by snowballing value, by, like I say, just being slightly more efficient in every engagement. And at the high level of play, it's the small things that make the big difference. An overused expression in RTS gaming in general, but it's so true. You know, at the higher levels of play, you're much less likely to see a game resolved by one player throwing it or making a big mistake. You're much more likely to see a game resolved by one player just doing small things consistently better than their opponent. And I feel like that's the story here. So Soviet players, I hope that you enjoyed this this fantastic show of Soviet prowess. Jove here taking a very convincing win. OKW players, well, take heart. Not every Soviet player is Jove, and not all games look like this. So there we go. This for now is Magpie on Caffeine, reaching the end of this cast and about to sign out, although I'm kind of loving the casting right now, so I think I'm just going to jump straight into another. So yay, probably more uploads coming soon. Thanks for watching. This for now, Magpie842 signing out.